opportunity to help people understand that you don't have to ask me about this or that. You know, if you want to buy something, if that's in your budget and we've already budgeted that money, you don't need to ask me, is it okay if I buy, you know, thing X? That's your money. You go ahead and do that. So there's a great role that we have too in educating and supporting people. All right? Okay, very good. So let us talk about elder abuse, dependent adult abuse, and the fact that that we have a duty to report. So we're going to move on into that. And if you look on the first page, this is from Disability Rights California. So they're an agency, federally funded, that oversees the system of developmental disabilities in California. And so their role is really for advocacy and training and information. All right. So our folks, although we do have a couple of seniors, really they're going to fall under the dependent adult. So because they're a dependent adult, we as support staff are all mandated reporters. So that's the first thing that we need to understand and get clear, is that we are mandated reporters. What does mandated mean? It means that we have a legal responsibility to report abuse. Probably the most common way that it's going to come up for you in your job is somebody is going to come and say, this happened to me. Such and so, I was walking to the park, and this guy came out and hit me, you know. Or you might observe a bruise or scratching or some kind of a physical injury on the person, and so that could be from abuse as well. But most typically, you're not going to actually see it. If you see it, of course, you're going to report it. If you see one person receiving support abusing another person receiving support, and you witness that, you're going to report that to APS. And we'll talk about the specifics of what is abuse exactly. What is physical abuse? What is financial abuse? We'll talk about that in a little bit more depth. But it's not the agency's responsibility. It's not CSDS. It's not the supervisor. It's each of us have personal responsibility and legal responsibility to report. So let's look through this handout here. Okay, so if the elder or the dependent adult lives in the community, which that's all of our folks, you're going to contact either law enforcement, so that would be the police, or adult protective services. So all of the folks that we work with are 18 and older, so they're adults. And so we're going to report to one or both of these agencies. So the APS is, that's the county. So Ventura County has Adult Protective Services. It's in their Human Services Division. And there's a phone number. Do we actually have that phone number handy? We're going to give you the phone number here.
If we notice something, see something, whatever it might be, should we come to you guys first before we contact APS or the police, or should we go straight to APS and the police?
Yeah, the question was, should if you have something to report, should you just go ahead and report it, or should you talk with maybe a supervisor first? You know, it really depends. We're definitely here as supervisors, managers, as an agency. We're here to help you with that. If it's something that's like an immediate danger, I would say no.
Right.
Go ahead and call the police. It's probably not going to be that, but in a situation where like it's in progress or whatever, you're going to call the police. Like you were in a situation where the person said, "Mom hit me," and sent you a photo, right? So this is a very real thing. This happens. This happens with the folks that we support, and I think that we've had 2, maybe 3 incidents to report to APS in this last year.
Wow.
One was a lady that we support who came and told her instructor, "My dad hit me," he got mad at me and he spanked me and I didn't like it, and she was really upset, as you can imagine. And so in our estimation, that was abuse. That was probably certainly physical, but maybe psychological as well, abuse, and we reported that to APS. And once we report, then it kind of goes out of our hands from there. So the APS case manager goes out, does the investigation, works with the family, might refer them to services, things like that. And even if that's not substantiated, it's still good to report because you're kind of laying a foundation. And sometimes it takes many reports. Unfortunately, it can take many reports, many incidents over a long period of time before something actually happens to the perpetrator. So anyway, that's just how it is. So they tend to look into the most egregious, the most horrific cases first. But in any case, we still have our duty, and that doesn't change our responsibility. We still report it. No matter what the outcome is, we do our part.
You know what I don't understand is there's been cases in California of horrible child abuse or whatever, and the state will take one of those children away that the parent still has, 2 or 3 other children at home, and they leave them with the other children with them, and it's like, well, what are you doing?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
One of the worst cases in the state of California, that was the case, and then the other brother ended up abused because they took the other brother away, but then they left the other children in the house, and then another brother became a victim of the abuse afterwards. It's horrible.
Right. Yeah, it's far from a perfect system, and it's complicated, because you have certain, as a parent, you have certain rights, and of course the kids have the right to, live in an abuse-free environment. So it's it can be really, really sad and really difficult.
Children away, not just the one that's being abused or whatever. It's dumb.
Yep. So if you know somebody that lives in a facility, nursing home, again, this might be a family member, not necessarily people we support, but if you reasonably suspect, that's the jargon, reasonably suspect. If you reasonably suspect that some abuse has occurred, or that you've witnessed it, or that, again, the person reported it to you, if you reasonably suspect that abuse has occurred, then you're going to report it. And what I always tell people too is, if you're not sure, should I report it, should I not report it, go ahead and report it. It's always better to err, if you're going to err, on the side of caution. It's just better to go through that process than not. And particularly...
But if it's not true, isn't it true that it comes back on us when we get in trouble for something? It's like...
Would we get in trouble for reporting?
For something that they find out that is not abuse. Or they find out it's not happening.
So what you're saying is you report it as abuse, and then it turns out that it was a false alarm, like nothing, it didn't really happen.
Yeah.
Are you going to get in trouble for that?
Yeah.
What do you mean by in trouble?
Repercussions?
I guess
why would you? You're reporting what's being told to you.
I think it would depend too. I mean,
I've heard it's falsely reported.
If you go out, if I know that, Joy is doing something to Bob over here, but I know something's going on, but I'm not quite sure, yeah, report it. But if I'm just going to go and be like, Joy did this, I think they're going to be able to, kind of figure out if it was, completely falsified and over-exaggerated compared to going, you know what, she wasn't sure, so she went ahead and reported it.
Yeah.
And I don't
Well,
think
yeah.
trouble...
I think for a fact that it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Because you have certain individuals that, where you say that this happens, you report it, and it was them lying about the situation, and no one gets in trouble. I mean, it's better safe than sorry. So
yeah,
exactly. If you don't report it, you'll get in trouble.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Right.
You're just relaying what was told to you, so why should you be in trouble?
Right. Yeah, you should definitely go ahead and report. And I know that that our agency is very supportive. We're not gonna come down like a hammer on somebody because they over-reported. We're gonna be very supportive, and we're gonna assist in the process. Sometimes you might have an individual, and this has come up even with some people that we support now, where they'll say, such and so hit me, or such and so did this or that, or the staff did this or that. And they might be hearkening back to something that happened maybe 10 years ago. So sense of time and place can sometimes be different for people. And so the person might be reliving an experience, or maybe there's a trigger and they say, such and so hit me. If we're not unaware of that, then we're going to report it. If we know about that, sometimes there is some discretion and you're like, no, Sarah did hit you, but that was last year. And then that's an opportunity to talk through it maybe with the person. So you wouldn't necessarily report that because that this is somebody, hearkening back to something in the past. But again, when in doubt, just report. You're not going to face any, negative repercussions or retaliation from anybody. Maybe the family. We've had a situation where, well, in the case that we talked about here, where the photo was sent, we reported it, and then the client, I think it was maybe a week or 2 weeks later, said, "Oh, I don't need your services anymore."
A week pretty
A week
much
later.
to the day. A week later.
And that was really devastating because the person does need the services, and there's a lot of dysfunction in the family, in the home, and I believe that the family put pressure on the individual to cut ties with our agency.
Is there any way that you guys can help that person?
Not really.
Is there anything?
Not much
legally
more.
that you guys can do?
What we did in that case is we notified the service coordinator at the regional center, and we said, this is what's happened. The person has asked not to receive services from us anymore. We think that she's being coerced or pressured to say this. We don't think, because she was perfectly happy with the support she was getting. We think that was directly related to the abuse reporting. So for this family, it was easier to not have anybody kind of looking in on things,
to report anything,
than to just not have the services. So that's really unfortunate. Really unfortunate. But those are the kinds of repercussions that I've seen, is that it usually comes from the family member, because they don't like, especially if the family member is the abuser, they don't want you to know about it. They don't want it to come out into the
But
open.
can the state come in and help that individual? I mean, to
yeah.
take her away from that environment?
Yeah,
the
that would
family?
be up to the Adult Protective Services, maybe in conjunction with the regional center, to maybe help that person move out. I think that person could live on their own, and quite
That would be
successfully,
better.
with support.
Oh, heck yeah, she.
And
she
it would
we were on her-
probably be a
we were on
much.
the way to do that too.
It would probably be a much better. She'd probably be a lot happier too. So those are the kinds of things that can happen negatively from reporting. From not reporting too, if you look on page 3, the third paragraph down, it says, what happens if you do not make a report as a mandated reporter? Failure to report is a misdemeanor.
Oh wow.
So it's actually a
Yeah.
crime. And a misdemeanor means it's punishable with up to 6 months in county jail,
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
fine of up to $1,000,
Yeah.
or both.
That's scary.
Yes.
Yeah. And if the failure to report leads to death or great bodily injury, the fine may be raised to $5,000. So we all have actually a personal liability if we don't report something. So that's a good incentive too. Obviously, beyond just the health and welfare of the person, for us, covering our own heinies, we need to report it, because we could face liability. Now, the other thing is that if you do report, you don't face any liability, say from getting sued, like the family says, oh, you defamed me, or you did this or that. You're immune from any kind of prosecution or lawsuit. So that's good to know too.
Yeah.
So the law will protect the reporter. Okay, if you turn over to the next page, it says definitions, and so I'm going to just look at dependent adult, which says means any person between the ages of 18 and 64 who has physical or mental limitations that restrict his or her ability to carry out normal activities or to protect his or her rights. Okay? And it goes on. Then it makes a distinction between physical abuse and neglect. So abuse of an elder or a dependent adult is number one. It could be physical, it could be neglect, it could be financial abuse, abandonment, isolation, abduction, or other treatment with resulting physical harm or pain, or mental suffering. And number two, the deprivation by a care custodian of goods or services that are necessary to avoid physical harm or mental suffering. So that's abuse defined. Now neglect. Neglect is, number one, the negligent failure of any person having the care or custody of an elder or dependent adult to exercise that degree of care that a reasonable person in a like position would exercise. And number two, the negligent failure of an elder or dependent adult to exercise that degree of self-care that a reasonable person in a like position would exercise. So they give some examples. So for neglect, failure to assist in personal hygiene or provision of food or clothing or shelter. Number two, failure to provide medical care for physical and mental health needs. Number three, failure to protect from health and safety hazards. Number four, failure to prevent malnutrition or dehydration. 5, failure of an elder or dependent adult to satisfy the needs specified in 1 to 4, inclusive for him or herself as a result of poor cognitive functioning